In this video, I'm going to show you, the music artist, everything that you need to know about the Facebook Pixel or the Meta Pixel. Everything from installing it on a landing page to run ads from your Spotify or Apple Music, and also how it works setting up custom conversion events for those platforms, but also how to kind of see how it's working on your website or your online store. And we're going to get a fundamental understanding of how this works. So I'm just going to dive right in. This is Events Manager. So to get here, if you're already in Ads Manager or somewhere else in the Meta business world, click this All Tools thing and look for Events Manager. This is where everything with your Pixel lives. Now, it's very easy for me to just say, like, okay, this number here, that's your Pixel, right? But that doesn't really teach you what your Pixel is or how it works. So to illustrate this, what I like to do is use this thing called Test Events. And this is a fantastic tool that you should use anytime you're trying out a new website that you can put your Pixel on. You want to be able to see how it actually works. So all we have to do here is go into this test browser events, and I can paste in, I'm just going to use my website or my store as an example. It's going to open it up, then I go back here, and now this tool, I'm not going to lie, super glitchy. Nothing happened, right? And some people get concerned. But this tool, one, it doesn't work in Safari. Two, ideally you would use Google Chrome, but if you're using Chrome, make sure you turn off all extensions that block ads. It will block your Pixel. And then three, even still, it can have issues. And then four, if you're in the EU, sometimes there can be other problems. So this tool is kind of glitchy, so I apologize. I have no control over that. But in my case, I just have to refresh the page. Sometimes this works fine and events pop in, but sometimes I have to refresh the page and they pop up. So we see we get a page view here. So I can flip back over to my website. And let's say we wanted to look at a product. So we're going to go look at this t-shirt. Now, if I go back to Events Manager, I'll refresh because Facebook's super annoying and we can't just get the events live sometimes. We get another page view, right? And if I click on this one, we see we're at just shop.andrewsouthworth.com. If I click on this one, we're actually looking at the Life is Short t-shirt. But this view content thing, this is something that my Shopify store uses as an event to identify when people are looking at a product. And so that actually passes over, like, the URL of the product, but it also passes over the value, the currency, the specific item in my catalog, because I sync my catalog with Facebook. So you can see these events firing, and even cooler, I can go over here and add this to the cart, and I can click checkout. And now if I go back over here and refresh, we're going to have at least one more event. We're going to have add to cart, and we don't have add to cart for some reason, but we do have initiate checkout. So as I said, this tool can be a little glitchy. There should have been an add to cart. So, but this is how you kind of figure out what's happening on your website. So if you wanted to have a store, like, that's how you do it. You paste it in. Now, it works the same if you're trying to figure out how something like Feature FM works or how Hyped It works. So for example, if I grab this Hyped It link here, and I go back, let me close one of these tabs, and I go back over to Events Manager and Test Events, I can put that Hyped It link in there. I think I have a Pixel on this one. I'm not 100% positive. And so our page just loaded. And if I go back here and refresh, we're going to see a Hyped It Smart Link Visit. So we click on this, Hyped It Smart Link Visit. That's the event that shows up. We have the link. We have some information about my artistry. And if I go over here and I click on Spotify, and I'm just going to cancel it because I don't want to actually go to Spotify. Refresh the page. We're going to get a Hyped It Smart Link click. So just by doing that, we can see that when we visit the page on Hyped It, we get Hyped It Smart Link Visit, Hyped It Smart Link Click. And the same deal for Feature FM. If I were to get this link, copy the base link, come over here, clear activity, paste this in, open website, and I'll just click on Spotify to speed this process along. I'll do cancel because I don't want to actually go to Spotify right now. Refresh the page. We're going to see two Feature FM events. And we see a bunch of other stuff. But we see a Feature FM custom event and a page view. You're not going to have these two things because I'm going to talk about these custom conversions in a moment. But then we have this Feature FM custom event and this Feature FM custom event. This one here, Action Page View. I'll zoom in a little bit. Apparently I can't zoom in that far. But it says Action Page View. There we go. You can kind of see it. This one, it says Action Music Service. So, they're both just Feature FM, but we need to have a way for Facebook to be able to tell the difference between these two Feature FM events. So that brings me to the whole custom conversion thing that we're going to cover for both Hyped It and Feature FM. Now the act of actually installing your Pixel on both of these platforms is stupidly simple. Like on Hyped It, I just click edit on here and I go down to tracking pixels and I just paste the pixel in there. And it's the exact same for Feature FM. It's super easy. You just paste it in there and that's all there is. Now, however, for both Hyped It and Feature FM, we have to make what's called a custom conversion. And so the way a custom conversion works, if I go into this thing over here that says custom conversions, this is for making specific events that we want to track that aren't what are known as standard events. So as you saw with our Shopify store, it was firing view content, initiate checkout, add to cart, page view. Those are all standard events. Facebook knows what they are. They assign them to common things like looking at a website or lead for giving email address, purchase for buying something. But if you have something that's more unique, like clicking a button on a landing page, like so that someone can go stream your song, and samesies for Feature FM, you have to make a custom conversion with that. But how do you do it? So I'll click Create Custom Conversion, and we choose our pixel, and this is where we choose our event. So in here, let's say we're working with Hyped It. So you're going to see Custom Events. We see Hyped It Smart Link Visit and Hyped It Smart Link Click. I'll zoom in a little bit. Once again, I cannot zoom in far enough. Hyped It Smart Link Click, right? So the visit fire when we visited the page, we don't really care when people visit the page. We only really care when people convert to the page. So we really want Hyped It Smart Link Click. So if that's what we want to track, we add it to this event. We name this Hyped It Click or whatever you want. Now, this is a relatively new thing, and not everyone has this. Most people do by this point, but you have to enter a rule for every custom conversion. So the easiest way, like in this case, I don't really want a rule. I want this every time Hyped It Smart Link Click fires, I want it to trigger this custom conversion. So what I can do is just URL contains period. And the reason is every URL in the world is going to contain a period, right? Because it's going to be .com, .net, whatever. It's always going to have a period in it. So that will make sure that every time this custom event is fired, this custom conversion will be triggered. And this, whatever, this Hyped It Click thing, this is actually what we'll be using in your ad campaign to run ads to promote this Hyped It link. Now, let me show you how to do it with Feature FM. If you remember, Feature FM did a little differently, where everything is fired through this Feature FM custom event. So to do that, in here, it's very similar. We pick our pixel, we pick the Feature FM custom event, but we can't do our URL filter here. We actually do want a rule. So if I click this drop down, we want this thing called event parameters. And if you remember, the parameter that Feature FM uses to tell if it's a page view or a conversion is they use this thing called action. So if action contains page view, it's a page view. If action contains music service, so we type it in, it's all one word, click enter. We can name this FFM all, that's usually what I call it, because this will fire for every music service, right? And then you just create this. And we saw that in test events. If you rewind the video, you can see when we tested it, it was action contains music service. Now, additionally, technically, if you just wanted this to fire when people click on Spotify, we could look at service name contains Spotify, enter. And now this would be FFM Spotify. And so if you go to your test events and you just test clicking, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, you technically can make a custom conversion for everything. I usually just use the all one where action contains music service. And with Hyped It, you can do a very, very similar thing as well. I don't remember off the top of my head. Hyped It Smart Link Click, event parameters. In here they have music service. And so you just go throw your Hyped It link in test events. See what happens when you click on Spotify versus Apple. It's probably just going to be contain Spotify. It might be something different. And then you type in this rule and you name it. And then, whatever events you want to use, you just use that in your ad campaign, right? Super easy. Now, what I recommend doing is you see how these say active and inactive. Sometimes these custom conversions don't show up in test events. As you saw when I did, if you rewind to check it out, they did. They showed up for me in test events. But sometimes for some people, they don't. So what you can do is after you make this custom conversion, just go to your landing page and just trigger it. And then if it goes active, you know that it works. Now, one important thing to keep in mind, if you get to this page and you don't see Feature FM, or you don't see Hyped It Smart Link Click or Hyped It Smart Link Visit, and you saw it in test events, go back 30 minutes, an hour later, and check again. Sometimes these events take a little while to show up. And most people don't realize it. It's not instantaneous. Despite the fact you saw it in test events, it takes 30 to 60 minutes to show up here most of the time. Now, before I mentioned that, like if you're having, like you might have to use Google Chrome, you probably, you have to ideally use Google Chrome, make sure all ad blockers are turned off. If your test event still isn't working, you could try using a different computer. And it's different for different people, but I've seen people, if they're using like a company computer, like their work computer, whatever security settings are on that computer will not allow any Pixel events to fire. Probably some company security policy or whatever. And certain people in the EU or the UK, I think there's like this various data privacy laws, GDPR and all that, that will prevent things from firing. There's some browser default somewhere that by default turns off all tracking. So if you need a second option, there is this tool called if I go to this hyped up page, the Facebook Pixel Helper. So it's just a Chrome extension. If you go to the Chrome extensions page, type in Facebook Pixel Helper, you'll find this free Chrome extension. And you won't be able to like see everything you could see in test events in that, but it'll at least let you know that like, okay, my Pixel's on the site and it's working. And then you could proceed from there. But aside from that, try a different computer, Google Chrome, no ad blockers and stuff like that first. But maybe just get Pixel Helper anyways, because it is a helpful tool. Now, this video wouldn't be complete with a few things. One, why is it called a Pixel? And two, what about the whole iOS 14 thing? So I'm going to cover those two things right now. One, why is it a Pixel? I didn't actually know this until like in the last few days. But it's called a Pixel because, and I don't know if it's still like this now, but at least in the past, and maybe now, a pixel would actually be a 1x1 pixel. So it would be like a 1 pixel by 1 pixel pixel that would be embedded on a website. And then when a person loaded the page, it would have to download that image, and that image would be saved to their browser, and it could enable tracking. So it's called a pixel because it would literally be a single pixel image on that website or in an email. That's why it's called a pixel. And then Facebook has a pixel, Snapchat has a pixel, TikTok has a pixel. But that's why they're all pixels. It's not like a Facebook specific thing. Now for the iOS 14 thing, I have other videos that cover this more extensively, but I feel like I need to discuss it in this video, so it's at least here. If you're trying to do conversion campaigns where, like, let's say you're trying to optimize for a purchase on your store, or a lead where someone gives you the email address on your website, or a feature FM or hyped it conversion or toned end conversion, you need to be using a custom domain. And so there's a few steps that are involved in that. One, you have to verify your domain on Facebook. And I'll link to a video here that shows how to do this with at least one platform. But then you're going to have to do this aggregated event measurement. And I have like a million of these, but if I go to streamandrew.com, so this is what I use for my feature FM. Inside of here, I have FFM pre-save, FFM all from Spotify. These are all custom conversions that I added. And so essentially, if you don't do the iOS 14 setup where you have a custom domain, you hook up your domain to your Hyped It or your Feature FM or your Toned In or your website or whatever, you can't target that conversion campaign to most iPhone users. Like pretty much all iPhone users at this point. You can't run your ads to them unless you do the iOS 14 setup. So for more extensive information on that, check out this video. And actually, I'll just link it right here because we're getting near the end of this video. Anyways, so I have a bunch of videos on that. It's kind of a complicated topic, but it's something that you can totally understand. And if you want to learn more about how to actually run these ad campaigns using Facebook ads, check out this playlist I have right here and learn a ton more on that topic. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next video. Bye.